Witness history at the closing ceremonies of the World Games with an all-star celebration featuring Alabama's favorite son, Lionel Richie, performing at home for the first time in decades. Joined by Alabama, Jamie Johnson, Bo Bice, Taylor Hicks, Blind Voice of Alabama, Pastor Mike Jr., Ruben Studdard, Young Blue, Martha Reeves, and Worth the Wait. An epic celebration. The closing ceremonies of the World Games at Protective Stadium, July 17th. Tickets are limited and going fast. Get yours now at TWT2022.com.
Okay, you guys good? Okay, thank you very much for being here, everybody. We're just days away now, and we're really close. It's a week from tomorrow before the opening ceremonies. I like to remind folks, though, that this is Wednesday. We're 3 days away from seeing the initial barricades, the initial perimeters and road closures going in for multiple locations. So we wanted to take an opportunity to remind folks once again that the road closures and the perimeters are going to be implemented ahead of World Games. It will mostly be in place through the 17th, and we wanted to provide some opportunity to talk a little bit about it with you, but also to serve as a reminder for all of our residents and businesses and visitors and folks who are going to be moving around and still wanting to kind of figure this out. We've been talking to residents and businesses for roughly about 3 months now, a little bit longer on some particular spots, but mostly that's been the very public campaign to do that. That's meant that we have literally, and the gentlemen that are with me right here, we have probably talked to hundreds of folks over that period of time, and we continue to do that, and we're encouraging folks to reach out if they need to us. I'll make a quick introduction of everybody as we get started. First off, we have Kelvin Blevins. He serves as Deputy Director of the Birmingham Department of Transportation. He is also the Branch Director for the World Games Unified Command System. So he has been working with and crafting this plan and providing a lot of information to a lot of folks. So I thank him for being here. Also, to my left, your right, is Lieutenant Field Morton with the Birmingham Police Department, who is also part of the World Games Unified Command, as well as with Birmingham Police Department, and he's been instrumental in working through all of this too. So you have multiple aspects here. As we've mentioned in the past, this is a Tier 1 rated event. That means that the federal government has looked at the security needs for this event, and they have determined that it is a Tier 1. Examples of a Tier 1 event in the United States are the Super Bowl. Another example would be like the Boston Marathon. The challenges you have in events like this is it's multiple locations stretching from downtown Birmingham to Oak Mountain in Shelby County over an 11-day period with people in large corners of all the region throughout this. So we have to focus in on that. The biggest impact, because if you think about with Oak Mountain State Park having a lot of the events, they're basically off to themselves, and it's a very closed environment over there. Hoover Met is, while surrounded by suburbs, is primarily a large footprint in and of itself. With Birmingham, with this being in an urban setting with all of our sporting events, it becomes a little bit more of a challenge because we have to address the fact that City Walk will be a primary location for lots of people, even if they're not going to events, just coming down and checking out all the festivities that are being offered by the World Games in and along City Walk. And then you have locations like Boutwell, BJCC, Protective Stadium, and you have all the entertainment aspects on that. We've got some others. So we wanted to take a moment today to talk a little bit about that. Before we go into a little bit more detail, I'd like to pause for a moment and say thank you to Jefferson County EMA for allowing us to hold this event here. We thought it would be helpful for us with the maps behind us to set this up in this situation where we could kind of talk through it, point to these maps if we need to, and track our inner weatherman from TV if we wanted to during the process. So we thank them, though. They have been partners and collaborators with us throughout the planning aspects of the World Games, throughout the preparation, throughout the training and all of that, and then a partner that provides opportunities for us to bring all of you in here in this room. So I really want to thank them for the role that they have played in this and the role they play every day in our county. So as I mentioned earlier, secure perimeters and road closures will begin as early as Saturday, July 2nd. It'll be early morning run for a lot of city employees in the city of Birmingham footprint. Nearly all of these locations will be set up that day. There will be some exceptions. We'll get into that in the Q&A a little bit more. We wanted to take this opportunity to discuss them with you. We can go as long as we need to talk about all of these locations. We know you can't report this bulk of information, but we do want to have an opportunity to provide it for you, share it on your digital spaces as well as on your broadcast and print spaces. And we encourage folks to get in mind that we would love for them to pay attention and take a look at what exactly this is going to bring as far as the road closures. 3 requests we have for today for the public. Go to birminghamal.gov/BHAMReady. That's BHAMREADY. And please review the maps. There's information about the maps on there, all the locations that will have secure perimeters. There is also a breakdown of key road closings throughout that. So birminghamal.gov/BHAMReady. If you have questions after you review it and need more information, we encourage people to reach out to us at bhamready@birminghamal.gov. And in the coming days, we will be pushing out a variety of other keywords for text, but for the city of Birmingham specifically on this particular matter, I want to once again mention a text for information that will partner with a variety of others. But for this particular information, I'd like to remind people that you also have, if you text BHAMReady, BHAMREADY, to 888-777, you'll have access to that, and we can remind folks when perimeters are going into place, when closures are taking place. One other reminder on you, we're going to have several others that we want to do as far as keywords for various aspects of this in the coming days. The perimeter with the largest impact will be downtown, which includes City Hall, City Walk, BJCC, Protective Stadium, Jefferson County Courthouse is in there, but there are some opportunities there for folks to gain access. One of the things that we hear sometimes that we realize people get a little confused about, when we talk about these perimeters, this is a vehicular perimeter. This is not, pedestrians can't walk through these. All of these spaces that we're talking about with secure perimeters and road closures are only for non-official, non-credentialed vehicles that can't access that. People will be able to move freely in these areas on foot. Residents living north at 13th Street do not need to have any sort of credential in this northern footprint of downtown. So if you're living in the north side community of Birmingham, just north of Protective and BJCC and all of that, those residents will not need a credential. They will have access to travel southbound into downtown Birmingham from 16th Street and Caraway Boulevard. Those areas will be open throughout the games. Now, for months, we've been working with businesses in this area to answer many questions, identify vehicle credentials for those who need them, and to coordinate traffic impact. Those conversations are very much underway right now and will continue. We have people out in the field right now who are talking with residents in some areas and also hitting up some of the businesses in other areas, so that will carry on. A marshaling yard in the north perimeter, in the northernmost perimeter, downtown perimeter, a marshaling yard will be located where there will be an entrance of 19th Street and Caraway Boulevard. This is going to be for deliveries. This is for trucks that are coming in to deliver in that secure perimeter. We've been talking to a lot of folks, but I want to announce this publicly and make sure everybody's aware of it. All vehicles that are going in with deliveries and anything along those lines, or any kind of services along those lines, will have to go through that scanning side or that sweep side that's located at 19th and Caraway, the entrance for that. And after they go through that with authorities, then they're able to go on into the perimeter, and we will be able to provide a lot of information for those who are out there. There are going to be limitations on when trucks, vans, box trucks, and large 18-wheelers can go into the perimeter on a daily basis during this secure perimeter period in downtown Birmingham. It will be from midnight to 8 a.m. daily. We've been talking to a lot of trucking companies, a lot of delivery organizations, just to explain to them and work through all of that. So I wanted to mention that and stress that. We will have that on the BHAMReady landing page as well for today. We also want to mention, I know that we received some calls earlier this week about ALDOT had put up hazardous material signs, just to kind of reemphasize the request of federal and local authorities. there was coordination with ALDOT and the Trucking Association to issue this hazardous materials a halt along I-2059 during the event, during the secure perimeter. So that's basically from 65 to Caraway, that stretch of I-2059. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. So with that, we've got the maps. One other point I guess I'll touch on before we get into it. So if you were to break down the most impactful, downtown obviously is going to have a big impact on the folks in and around this area. Avondale has some obvious impacts because you have closures there. We can get into the details of those closures. Essentially, it's 5th Avenue South. It's 40th Street on the west end of Avondale Park. And is that 42nd or it's not? It's 42nd, isn't it? Yeah, 42nd on the east end of that. Those areas are going to be closed off just so there's not access to them. Residents along 5th Avenue South, we've continued. There will be some that will need some residential vehicle passes, and we're coordinating that. But at the same time, most people will be able to access through alleyways and other things along those lines. And we continue to have that conversation with folks to make sure there's nobody missed. 4th to 5th on 41st Street will also be closed. That'll be closed off during this event. From what we understand, a lot of the restaurants in that area, the bars in that area, are basically taking advantage of that with the entertainment district to kind of use it as a block party type of setting throughout the events. So Avondale is one of the key areas. Betsy Estill Park in the Glen Iris neighborhood, there will be a closure, but this is going to run from, and I don't have my notes on me, is it July 12th, I believe?
July 12th through the 15th.
Yeah, July 12th through the 15th. That will be when there's a road closure along 8th Avenue?
Yes.
8th Avenue South. That's basically coming off of University Boulevard. You've got the softball field, you've got the baseball field, you've got the soccer field, all of that in that general area. There will be a closure from the 12th through the 15th on that. So that period will go on. Another one to touch on is 8th Avenue West in front of Legion Field. I want to stress, because I know that people will have asked about this, and we've passed this information along, but I want to stress, for residents and businesses along 8th Avenue West, there is no need for a credential to get in or out. There will be access for all the residents. We've literally walked the streets multiple times, knocked on doors, and talked with residents by phone and in person. Everybody that is inside that road closure on 8th Avenue West has access to their home, and primarily the driveways are in the back from the alleyway. There is one small little business area that's kind of in an L shape closer to Center Street on 8th Avenue West. They will have access as far as the businesses and employees, and also from the aspect of their customers. They will all be able to get past the perimeter into that. Otherwise, there's no through traffic on 8th Avenue West. And I believe I mentioned Betsy Estill Park. I mentioned 8th Avenue West and Avondale, 1st Avenue South, Railroad Park. That will be closed. Just got to follow back up on that. That is
12th through the 17th. The
12th through the 17th for 1st Avenue South. That is obviously a very active area. It'll continue to be an active area, but 1st Avenue South, there will be a stretch of that closed. We'll talk about that on the maps and get into some of the details on that. That is one of the key reasons for that is our activities, one in Railroad Park, but also there will be the duathlon will take place and speed skating. One other note before I open it up for questions, and just double check one other note while I open it up for questions, is with speed skating and the duathlon, there will be essentially, think about the Mercedes Marathon, think about a long version of the Mercedes Marathon with multiple versions of it. There will be, it's rolling closures where people can't go through at certain times, if it opens up and they can't go through. It'll be the same situation on the first Sunday and Monday of the games, and on the Saturday and Sunday with the 16th and 17th. So it's 10th and 11th with speed skating, and then 16th and 17th with the duathlon. All of that is going to be in an area that's part south, kind of 2nd Avenue South, going into roughly about 2nd Avenue North 3rd for some of those events. We will get into more detail about that as we get closer to those events and provide more details for that. With that, I'll just open it up for questions and we'll just talk through this. And I've been hogging it, but Lieutenant Morton and Mr. Blevins are more than happy to address your questions.
Is this the biggest event in scale that you guys have ever dealt with?
Absolutely.
Yes, definitely.
And what kind of challenges does that pose?
Want to come up here?
As far as us, because it's a security plan, one of the biggest challenges is finding ways around it. You're taking away a lot of parking. So for us to find a way for spectators to attend these events, we look at it as a large sporting event, which will be a lot of walking involved. But for me, this is one of the largest events that I've ever done.
Is that intimidating? Because just to look at all these maps, it seems overwhelming.
At times it is overwhelming, but it's something that's good for the city, and we're able to team up as a team. We have local experts that help us through this, that attended a lot of events or still want events that help us through this. So we're able to get through it.
So you have been coordinating with people who've worked on like Boston Marathon or some of these
Yes.
other things, and they have good advice?
Yes.
Okay. What can you tell me an example of like something that you hadn't thought of that maybe these guys shed some light on?
Something they haven't thought of. That's a good question. A lot of things, as far as like the Boston Marathon, they do it every year.
Yeah.
It's a one-day event versus multiple days. So that's the challenging part for us. It's a multi-day event with multiple venues. So they've kind of gave some experiences as far as what they dealt with. Can't think anything specific, but they definitely helped us out with coming up with plans.
And if I may jump in and say, one of the things, too, is as we work through this, working with the public, where we're talking to businesses or we're talking to residents, and when we really sat down and started talking about these plans and the communication aspect, one of the things we all talked about is let's ask every question we have on our mind, because when we talk with residents and businesses who may be impacted by this, they're going to have questions we haven't thought of. So working through that has been one of the key things. We try to address that in many ways, and we probably still will have some questions, and we're going to have to pause and say, okay, what do we need to do? How do we work through that?
And what has been the biggest question from businesses? Just access, or that's what they're concerned about?
Access, parking. I think that's the common question for everybody is access, parking, do we need credentials? And all of those aspects. That process, the credentialing process, not just for the public and the businesses, but throughout the program, throughout the World Games 2022, that process is underway right now. So it's a massive undertaking, and many people are involved in that on many different fronts.
From a parking aspect, I know many of y'all are going to encourage people to ride the line and use public transit. Do we have a perhaps number? I know when we do BJCC stories, they're able to tell us how many parking spots are available within a certain radius of the event. Do we have a number or anything like that?
We can get that number to you. I when you asked that, I was like, I know I've got it in my inbox upstairs. I don't have the numbers. Do you have them off the top?
I don't have a definite number of parking. There's a lot of on-street parking that'll be available. But we can get your number at a later time. But I think we can come up with a good number for you.
And I know it's something y'all focused on. There seems to be a lot of blue lots on here. Do you believe that's a substantial amount that's going to be, I guess, filling the need? Because we are going to see a lot of traffic here, I'd imagine.
It's hard to say, to be honest with you. We hope it fills some of the need, but then again, we don't. We want people to come. We want people to come to the remote parking areas, ride the line, park on the south side, ride down to the north side. So whatever needs to be done, we encourage people to park, walk, scooter in, Uber in. So we really encourage that. So as far as keeping that contained to those blue lots or blue spots, we hope it spreads out much larger than that. We want the people to come.
As you mentioned, the micro-mobility, whether it's scooters or bikes, people will still be able to use that. We also, just don't be remiss if I don't mention TWG 2022.com/ride is where you can get all the information. I look to be hearing, I think you'll be hearing more from the World Games and partners in the coming days about Ride the Line, some more information. But we encourage folks, we're getting lots of emails and phone calls, which is very encouraging to me. Folks asking details about the transit, the World Games transit line and how they can ride the line, and we're very encouraged by that. And we encourage folks to take a look at it and take a, just plan out your trip before you come to go to any of the events, particularly in the city of Birmingham. Just plan out that trip. Take a moment, look through the maps, look at the information about the transit line, and just be informed. I mean, the mantra you usually hear with these events is know before you go, and we encourage everybody to know before you go. Any questions on any of the maps? Do you want us to? I mean, we can do the whole song and dance if you like to, or you guys cool. I think that the important thing. Melissa, can you show the downtown map?
Yep, pull it right up.
I do want to show that really quick, just because.
You want me to zoom in an area I can?
We're good right now. 13th is open. This is something that folks. So this is like I say, if you look, you see the blue up here. These are primarily residential and maybe some businesses mixed in. So 13th is open. Everybody is north of that. There won't be any requirements for any kind of credentials. As I mentioned earlier, 16th Street, which is right here, is a go. Caraway Boulevard, there are spaces in and around that. The yellow lines on this map, I didn't realize that. Thank you for telling me that. Yellow lines on this map are detour routes. So we're just encouraging folks to take a look at it, pause. I know this is just for me. A lot of times when I look at that, just to make sure I'm exactly right about it, I'll go to the Google Maps and just kind of match it up with this too, just to kind of work it through. So maps are hard work for folks reading them. I know that, but I encourage you to take advantage of just studying it. Once you figure out this is where I need to go, or this is where I live, what changes are gonna be in place starting on the 2nd. Yes, sir.
Just last question from me. How important or vital has the improvements y'all been making to y'all's bus infrastructure going to be for this Ride the Line effort? Again, I know it's something y'all have been working at for years. Can you kind of touch on that?
It's a collaboration. The World Games has been working. The World Games 2022 has been working with us. The city of Birmingham, we were able to set up a couple of buses, particularly for this event. BJCTA is a partner in this, providing shuttle service as well, or bus service as well. So it has been a collaboration, and it's the example. I know, Field, you would say this. It's with law enforcement. It's with transportation, communications throughout the whole gamut. One of the greatest advantages for us is we're working with so many different agencies, governments, entities out there, and everybody cooperating and collaborating to make sure that this is the best possible event.
How has the coordination been with like the independent, like the taxi companies and the rideshare companies?
They continue to talk. Anybody? You there?
So we've notified Uber, Lyft, taxi companies. So if you notice on the map, there's a plaza, a hub for the rideshare lot. So that's the drop-off location. That's where Uber and Lyft will drop off, pick up, and that's a little closer to the vicinity of Protective, Boutwell, and BJCC area, and Uptown.
It's good that you mentioned that too, because if we could keep that, Melissa, right there. Actually, you're perfect where you are. This is the hub for the event. So all the shuttles end up at some point at this hub. Okay, so if you get out of here, they've got it coordinated so that basically this right here is Birmingham City Walk, and so when you get out here, you got a block away from Birmingham City Walk, and then where all these events are going to be in. Uptown's right there, BJCC and Protective City. So that was kind of the whole design for the hub, to make it where they can drop you off in one central location.
You guys have been working on this for a couple of years. We had an extra year that we didn't plan on. Everything that you guys have done over the past couple of years in planning, does it make it easier to bring it the next big event? And how much of a head start do we have now?
Yeah.
For me, it makes it easier. It's a learning experience. We'll come back to the table, see what we did wrong, see what we can improve on. So for the next big event, I think this is going to help us out tremendously.
And that's, I think we all have said as we work on it, okay, next time when we have the World Police and Fire Games, any of the others, okay, this is what we've learned. This is what we think about. This is how we address X, Y, Z at this point. So, anybody else? I really appreciate y'all coming.
Can the
Yes, sir.
lieutenant talk about the police presence downtown and how many officers will be deployed on any given World Day,
Yeah, so
World Games Day?
so as far as the police presence, there will be a heightened police presence. We have more agencies, both state and local, that I could even speak of. So there obviously will be a heightened sense, especially around the downtown area and the World Games Plaza and City Walk. That will not affect any of our patrol efforts. Those efforts will still continue from our area commanders. But yeah, when you come downtown, you'll see more police than you're used to seeing. You'll see all the local agencies that are coming down to help. You'll probably see some uniforms that you're not used to seeing and things like that. So,
And if you go back to this morning, we were in a public safety meeting, and just to kind of put it in context, there were an estimate. It was roughly about 50 different agencies. This was local, federal, state agencies that were all in this meeting. This was leaders only, or leaders and deputies and higher-ranking folks that were all in the process. So it shows you, when we were in the room and looked around at everybody, we were like, "Oh, this is a lot of folks. This is a lot of people that are involved in this."
Any idea how many officers on a given day would be?
I think it probably
deployed?
goes to operational stuff, and so I don't know if we can get into the details on that. We can follow up with you and see what we can provide for you. I know that you saw on the Birmingham City Council, and I don't want to say the number because I can't remember it off the top of my head, but on the City Council agenda when the council approved the MOUs a couple of weeks ago, that represents the ones that are direct relationship with the city on that, and that's just for the city in the process.
Will there be places like, for example, like the City Walk where you all have like metal detectors, like, because it's a big crowd of people in areas? Have y'all kind of thought about
I
that?
think I'll get you to stop me if I say too much.
so
but
I'll just say this on that. So we're not going to be able to really go into a whole lot of details about
Okay.
our operational readiness and the security measures that we've taken. But we've taken all the steps that the federal coordinator has put out for us to do, and we've met all those guidelines.
Okay.
Okay.
Are there funnel spots that people will have to go through security measures?
In the venues, in ticketed venues, it'll be much like any other concert or football game that you go to.
Good. All right.
Whose job is it to put up the barricades that start going up this Saturday? Is that public works? Or?
That's a combination of transportation, City of Birmingham Transportation, and Birmingham Public Works. We'll also help with that deployment.
So basically, everything starts really on Saturday, as far as road closures.
Yeah, we've actually, you may not see it, but we've actually started maybe a week ago or 2 weeks ago, just preparing, getting stuff in place to make it easier for us to get those closures in place. So basically, as the second, we're gonna start shutting everything down. We can.
Okay.
There's one point that we mentioned, like north of 2059, as far as the closures and stuff. BJCC protective and stuff.
That we just want to leave open.
Yeah. So everything will be everything will be staged. July. I kind of started. Sorry, but the city will stage the closings north of City Walk, north of 2059 for in and around BJCC and all of those areas, and protective and uptown. They will stage all the barricades, but just for the weekend, as we move into the next step, because of all the load in of all the work that's going on at City Walk, the gates will be open, so there will still be passage through there. But south of 2059 and City Walk, in the area around here, this will be closed up. This will be a secure perimeter at that point.
So the major part where you get off on Caraway, like that, that part, because other part you got Uptown, but then when you get down by Caraway, people can come through that exit.
Yes, so when you get off 25th Street, you'll have to make a left and go directly to Caraway. Then from Caraway, you can go around and go down Caraway or up Caraway, whichever way you need.
Yeah, go from that 6th Avenue north side.
Right.
Okay. All right.
So if you text that BHAM ready to the 888, you'll get access to the maps.
Yes.
Yeah, we'll be putting that up later today. We'll be putting it up tomorrow. We'll be reminding folks. We'll be reminding folks in a variety of ways. All of our channels, all of the ways that we communicate with folks, we will continue to do that. And we will continue to push that out. And we appreciate anything you do in your stories. And as we get this word out, we appreciate the stories that y'all put out.
Off the top of your head, what are some of the projects the city has sped up or finished just for the World Games? I know City Walk is the major one, probably.
Yeah, and that was, actually, let me just make a note. Do you need to go to your next meeting, or do you, okay. I know we've got another planning meeting nearby, so I wanted to make sure he was okay. I'll have to get back with you on a full list. I was working on this the other day. City Walk is actually, an ALDOT-led project. The city is a partner in that, but it was an ALDOT-led project, and obviously that has been completed. The target was to finish that up. There was work, in particular, with some of the venues, just to, and this may not be very artful in the way I say it, but the initial agreement with World Games did not require that we have to do any upgrades to any of the facilities. But what we have done in the process, and this is part not just for the World Games, but moving forward in service to our community and service, and in our efforts to recruit other events. I know that there has been a lot of work on Boutwell. I'm very excited to see Boutwell Auditorium. If you notice, just from an exterior point, you'll see the ballast. Yeah, you'll see the ballast set up there out front. But there's also internally, there's a lot of updates to the seating and the flow that way as well. There were a lot of, and this is something that's not just for the World Games, but the process to get it completed in time. There's a lot of ADA compliance when it comes to curbs and stuff along those lines as well at all of the venues. Legion Field had work on it. Of course, they've got the new light tower as well. I think there was some other work over there, but that's primarily where it stops. There was lots of work to prepare those locations. The work, as we say before, I'll say again, neighborhood revitalization is our top priority as an administration. So that work continues regardless of whether it's the World Games or not. We're going to continue in the neighborhoods. Shonda Temple went to this. I'll remind her, thank you. She's editing me while we're talking. This is on the World Games website, but it's also, we will put this up on BM Ready. There's going to be a bag policy. This is very similar to, this is the same bag policy that we use for Majesty Classic. It's the same bag policy that we use. I believe Protective uses this policy already. So it's prohibited items, non-prohibited items, and the bag policy, the clear bag policy, rather, I should say. So we urge folks, if you use the shuttle or if you're walking up, know the bag policy if you're going into a venue before you get there, because once you're there, you're going to have to say, I don't have anywhere really to store this if you parked or if you use the transit. So know the clear bag policy and the prohibited items before you leave, before you head that way.
As far as setting up all the venues, is that pretty much the purview of the World Games? They're in charge of
yes, and there's a
creating their
yes.
game setup.
And so if you go over to City Walk right now, you'll see a lot of work that's taking place. They're building up the stage. I think there's a big tent that they've been working on. There's a variety of things. If anybody has driven past, my wife and I drove by Sloss Furnace the other day, and in the big parking lot, it's exciting to look at that. I mean, it just looks like a big event about to happen there, and I can't wait. I can't wait to see some of the things, the rock climbing, the parkour, the break dancing, all of that's going to happen at Sloss. And it's the same across the board. If you go to Avondale Park, you see all the material that's going up on the fencing and all of that stuff. Cool. We good? I really appreciate it. Thanks, everybody. I can keep on talking, you know me. So, but if y'all have any other questions, we can talk more about it. So thank you very much. I appreciate you.
Do you know what's happening in Birmingham? Find out now with the all-new What's Happening Birmingham app. Download today on Android, iPhone, and iPad for free. Get info on everything you need to know about local news, events, businesses, restaurants, and more. Visit our website, what'shappeningbirmingham.com, follow us on Twitter at HappeningBham, or call us at 205-538-4508. Download the What's Happening Birmingham app today. What's Happening Birmingham, your source for everything Birmingham.